was a great game day atmosphere. Of course, being in the Bayou Classic, great classic. A lot of fans showed out. We know that our grandma was going to come to play. It was an exciting game all the way to the end. Fortunate enough, we were able to pull it off, and that landed us a spot in the SWAC Championship game. So hard-fought game. Guys pulled through and played for 60 minutes. Good football game for us.
Appreciate those opening comments, Coach Dooley. We're going to open up for questions. First question goes to Jim Klein-Peter.
Hi, Coach. Looking back at the last time you played Jackson State, what were some of the things that you want to correct specifically?
That's really an open floor question. I probably won't answer that question right there. There's some things obviously we have to correct, and that's what we're going to work on this week right here. So we're preparing for a great football team.
How much does a team losing to a team the first time, does it create much of a advantage for payback or revenge or anything?
No, it don't create advantage for no one. A lot of guys live into the cliche, this team, this and that. There, you got to play the game. You got to play the game each time you line up to play. Everybody's going to be a little different. Yeah, you're going to do some of the things that you're accustomed to doing, that you've been great at doing. But coaches make adjustments. When you talk about a good football team like Jackson State, they're going to make adjustments. They got better since the last time we played us as well. So we do understand that we don't look in the past. We never try to look in the rearview mirror or think of a payback. No such thing. You got to play the game for what it's worth right now today.
Next question goes to Dr. Cavill.
Good morning, Coach Dooley. Congratulations on the Bayou Class victory, as well as winning the Western Division of the SWAC.
Appreciate it. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. With that being said, in terms of film evaluation, Coach, you usually have that where after a game, you go back and watch the film and you prepare for the next opponent. How much of that is the case when you have a rematch like this? Do you actually go back to that game film of that particular game? And if you do, what are the kind of things in general that you look for? And if not, where do you go for a championship game to get game framework of how you're going to break down a team?
I think you keep it open though, and the reason why I say that, because you got to continue to do what you've been successful doing. You got to make that better as well. Of course, we still have that philosophy. We got to scratch where the itch at too. So where we have some corrections that we have to do, of course, we got to go back and fix that. But I think I'm a guy that looks at everything. I think this is that's a passion of mine. I want to look at everything, regardless if it's the first week, the last week. I still want to watch tape because it's something that you can find that you feel you can be successful at. So, and some things that you wasn't successful, that you can still learn from that situation. So I think coaches are a creature of habit. They're gonna look at everything if they got the tape to watch it. So every film that's out there, you want to take a look at it if time permits.
Makes sense. Follow-up question would be just you as a head coach being in this position last year, taking a team up to a championship game. Does that provide some things that you'll be able to support you in doing it this time with Southern? Or is there anything that you may change from last year that you didn't do or wasn't able to do in terms of this matchup this time?
No question. You're talking about a different team, but with the opportunity to go back playing against the same team, of course, there's some things I'm going to do different because of didn't come out successful. So, you got to change some things to get better at it. So no question about that. We will change some things that I see that can benefit us as well.
Thank you, Coach. Look forward to the matchup.
Thank you.
Next question goes to Ernest Riggs.
Congratulations, Coach, on your victory.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Coach, specifically, how has your team improved since the last time you all played Jackson State?
Well, the thing is, we're improving in spots, certain spots that are not where I clearly want us to be at, but I do know we have gotten better. I do know we have a good football team as well. No question about that. Still some things that we're working on because I'm a guy that like to execute at a high level. So even if it's perfect, I'm still striving for perfection some more. So we're working, but we have gotten a lot better. Some things, the chemistry have gotten a lot better. We know some of the things that we're good at and some of the things that we wasn't good at. We worked on those as well. So we're not a different football team. We're the same football team that's now with the ability to do the things that we should have been doing from the beginning.
Coach, follow up. Just for you, what does it mean for you to get back to the SWAC Championship this year? And what does it mean for you in your first year coaching Southern to be here?
Well, to me, I'm a guy, this is not where I want to be at, not just the SWAC Championship. Of course, you want to get there, you want to do some things a little different. You want to win it. That's why you get there. So it's some things that we're preparing. This is not, I don't believe in goals, and it's a long story behind that. I just believe in playing and making sure that we're able to go 1-0.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Next question goes to Jeff Licey Jr.
Coach Dooley, what do you need from your quarterback, Sean McCray, in this week in order to get a victory over Jackson State?
I need him to win the game. That's why I look for a quarterback to win the game. I don't need him to manage it. I'm going to sit on that sideline. I'm not going to put on no EQ. So I just need him to go out and win the game for us. And what I mean by that, he don't have to take the game by himself and win it. He just got to put us in good positions. He got to be that guy that he's a quarterback. He's going to touch the ball every down. So he has a big, significant impact on what we do and how we do it. But there's no pressure on him because they know that when it's played quarterback for me, that's what I expect. And in winning the game, of course, he's going to do some things that's going to put us in good positions.
Absolutely, Coach. And just a quick follow-up, just in conjunction with that, your offense wasn't able to get on the scoreboard last time you played Jackson State. Just what is the message to them heading into this SWAC championship game?
Well, again, I know questions come in all type of way. I don't look in the rearview mirror. We're playing this game just on December the 3rd. What happened then won't be important. What's going to happen Saturday.
Question goes to James Hill.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on the victory in the Bayou Classic. Can you talk a little bit about in the fourth quarter in the last contest, you guys went out and scored 20 points and shut the other team down, but just talk a little bit about moving forward. I know it's a new game and the momentum you can have going in.
I appreciate it. Thank you, But yeah, it is a momentum builder when you take a look at it, some success to lean on and just keep going. But I think it's still some things that we're correcting from that. We already had an opportunity to go out this morning to make those corrections to make us a better football team. The thing about it, the momentum, we just got to continue to go. When our defense is playing at a high level, it gives us a great chance of winning the ball game. And then, of course, offensively, we got to put the ball in the end zone. That's what it all comes down to, scoring points. So I do like the way that we finished the game. Still some work to do, and that's what this week here will take care of.
Coach, it's all about the SWAC championship game. You've been there back-to-back seasons, two different teams, two different looks, two different programs. Talk about going into Jackson in this particular game and what you want to do with your Jags.
Well, we got to come out and we got to execute at a high level. And when we execute at a high level for 60 minutes, I like our chances. So we know the things that we have to correct, and that's what we're working on as we speak. So we just got to continue to keep working and keep grinding, and got to take place on Saturday. We'll see how the chips fall.
Thank you, sir. Have a blessed week.
Thank you. You too.
Next question goes to Kendrick Marshall.
Yeah, Coach. Including last year, this will be your third time preparing for Jackson State. How much of an advantage, if at all, is that from your standpoint of having to prepare for a team 3 times in a calendar year?
Well, you say an advantage. I guess it's an advantage for both of us because he had to prepare for us as well. It's a different team, but pretty much the same scheme, so it's no different. So it's no advantage. I think it's what you do now. That's why we use that acronym, WIN. What's important now? That's what's important right now, that we prepare for a great football team. That obviously they're a great football team. They're 11-0. They haven't lost a game this year and playing at a high level. And number one in probably every category that you try to categorize. So we do know the challenges and we know what we have to do, but of course, we're going to always love our chances. We have an opportunity. So the things that we have to prepare for are advantages I don't look at advantages. I just say you just got to go out and execute at a high level.
It's a quick follow-up. Your quarterback, Sean McCray, he hasn't thrown for over 100 yards in the last 4 games. He has 71 yards against Grambling in the Bayou Classic. How important will it be for your offense to be able to stretch the State defense vertically in the passing game?
You say he hasn't thrown for over 100 yards in a couple of games. You name one game which he had not thrown for over 100 yards in the Bayou Classic. He did what he had to do for us to win the game. But the previous game before that open date, he did throw and had a couple of touchdowns, so it was great. Again, I just need him to do what he does that's going to help us to win. If that's throwing for 300 yards, then we'll throw for 300. If that's not throwing and he's rushing, the same thing. At the end of the day, when it all comes down and it's a W, you're not worried about the stats. You got the biggest stat of all, winning.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Last question goes to Stephen Gaither.
Coach Dooley, how you doing this morning? Coach Dooley, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, just really quick. You know, you guys, the last time you guys played Jackson State, Travis Hunter, the freshman, was kind of still getting his wings under him. He's made some big plays over the last couple of weeks, but also given up some big plays too. What type of challenges does he and this this Jackson State defensive backfield present to you guys? You know, that you got to account for this time.
I mean, when the eye in the sky would never lie. When you take a look at the young man is extremely talented. The young man has a high ceiling. The young man has a high IQ for football. You can look at that, the way that he plays, and he plays with a lot of confidence. You know, when you play with a lot of confidence, that solves a lot of problems. But he's talented. He got a lot of talent behind that confidence. So we know the young man can play. That's no question about that. I think anyone that watches football know that he's a football player. So we have some challenges. They have some good players, not just Travis Hunter. They got some good players on defense. My coaching staff always hear me talk about Aubrey Miller. That's a football player. He's a linebacker that's going to play from sideline to sideline, from tackle to tackle, and he's going to be all over the field. He has a passion for playing. You can just see the way he plays. So they got some good football players, and we know that. But at the end of the day, I feel that we have some good football players as well.
All right, and then to follow up quickly, you know, you have been here before SWAC Championships as an assistant with Coach Richardson. What would it mean for you to, you know, if you guys are able to bring that championship back to Baton Rouge and just add your name in that lineage? I know you talked about that a little bit last year.
Well, you know, that's a special spot right there, you know, and that's what you strive for. Each year you step out on the field. You're not just stepping out on the field just to be able to play coach a collegiate football team. You're trying to win it all, and that's what it all comes down to. That's why those young men work so hard, starting in January all the way through the summer months. So this is what you play the game for, to play at the highest level, to be in the highest game, to win it all. So it would be a huge accomplishment.
Coach Dooley, we sincerely appreciate your time and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Except we're going to go to Jackson. I want to go to Jackson State. Coach Deion Sanders. See that we have Coach with us. Good morning, Coach.
How you doing?
Doing great, Coach. We sincerely appreciate your time and what we know is an extremely busy week for you and your team. Coach, if you could please start us out with an opening statement previewing your upcoming matchup against Southern in the SWAC Championship game.
First and foremost, I'm excited about the matchup. They're well coached. I have the utmost respect for their coach. He's doing a wonderful job. I'm just hearing statistics on the defense with leading the nation with sacks and touchdowns, defensive touchdowns. That is unbelievable, and the nation needs to know about that because that is a feat in itself, and it shows you the consistency and the coaching talent and the players that they have. We're excited for this opportunity. We're excited to put our offense on display once again. Our defense, which has been playing lights out, our kicking game, our kickers don't miss the punting game. We're excited, and to really have this influx of economics into our city once again is going to be unbelievable. Everyone's going to win in some sort of fashion, except for one team on the field this week. But I think it's truly a blessing to have the championship here, and it's really a rivalry type game. So I appreciate it. I look forward to it. I can't wait. I anticipate it.
Appreciate those opening comments, Coach. First question goes to Charles Bishop.
Coach, how you doing?
How you doing, sir?
I wanted to ask, and I know you've answered this before because you like to maintain the continuity, but does not having a weekend off, essentially a bye week this past weekend, does it not help the team with regards to the overall team health? This team has been going for about 7 weeks straight now.
No, I've never seen someone say, "Oh my God, I played so much better with the bye week." No, I don't coach better with a bye week. I coach better just with a good defense and a good offense.
Sure, no doubt.
Bye week, yeah. I don't know why we have bye weeks. Sometimes it helps with injuries and all that, give guys opportunity to rest. But we don't want rest, man. We've been resting all summer, all winter, all spring, man. We ready to get down.
A quick follow-up, and you mentioned the anticipated crowd, the economic boost to the city, but your overall thoughts with regards to Jackson putting on a show again for the SWAC Championship?
I don't know about the show. You can't put on a show unless you win the game. I'm just hopeful and thoughtful that it's no crime, it's no murders, it's none idiotic that takes away from the goodness of this moment. SWAC Championship 2 years straight in Jackson, Mississippi. The economic boost is tremendous, and I love it. Everyone's going to win, so we don't need robbing and stealing and hustling and shooting and all that craziness. So I think we all win, and I think we need to learn how to understand what a true blessing this is. And it's a respect. I know some fans get a little overboard, but I have the utmost respect for this program. I really do. I really have the utmost respect for the coach, the whole program, and what they bring to the table. It's going to be exciting.
No doubt. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
Next question goes to Zach McKinnell.
Hope the bye week and the holidays went well for you, Coach. You were named the finalist again for the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year award, and there's only been one back-to-back winner in the history of the award, Craig Bowl, back in 2012, 2013. How much would it mean to you to be the second back-to-back winner of the Eddie Robinson Award this year?
Well, let me answer this like a coach would. That would be tremendous. It shows how good our staff is. It shows how talented our players are. It shows the program. It shows how forward-thinking our program is, and I'm elated to even be mentioned for such a prestigious award as that. So, getting nominated in the second year straight, it's a tremendous blessing. But it's no way I could begin to take the credit without the social media team, the trainers, the equipment managers, the staff, everyone included in what all we bring to the table here in Jackson State.
And a quick follow-up about the game this weekend. What was some of the bigger things that you guys wanted to work on throughout this bye week that you guys saw on film from the Alcorn State game that you guys needed to correct going into this rematch with Southern?
Explosiveness offensively. We have explosive players. We just got to figure out a way to get them the ball doing what they do best. We got to run the football effectively. That means dominate the front line, and we have the players to do such a thing. We just got to be consistent in all the things we do. We got to finish. The things about the words of the week, we got to finish. We got to finish. We got to finish whatever we started. We got to flat out finish our assignment of the year, and that's to be dominant.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Next question goes to Kendrick Marshall.
Yeah, Coach. Over the weekend, Pete Thelma with Fox Sports reported that Colorado had made you an offer to become their next head coach. Mm-hmm. How true is that report, and is there any mutual interest between you and the school?
Yeah, definitely. The report is true. They're not the only ones. The report is true. I'm not going to sit on here and tell all my business, but they're not the only ones. And I would be a liar if I told you they didn't. You know they did. I know they did. Everybody there know they did. So it is what it is. That's not my focus right now. My focus is to win. and to be dominant, and then to and not even to go on to during the Celebration Bowl. My focus is right here in this beloved stadium to be dominant on Saturday. That's my focus. And I keeps the main thing. And everyone that knows me know that about me. I have an innate ability to focus and keep the main thing.
As a follow-up, how do you not let these reports distract you from preparing for each week and preparing your team to play?
Well, to someone else that hadn't been that dude, it gets intoxicating. I've been praying for a long time, dog. Attention ain't nothing new to me. Like, come on. This is. I'm not being braggadocious or whatever. That's a wonderful word, isn't it? Braggadocious. Just came up with that. I think I said that a few weeks ago. But this ain't new to me. Being in the spotlight ain't new to me. I got to just turn that light and channel it to my kids, channel it to my coaching staff, channel it to the support staff. We've been in the spotlight for a long time individually. It's time to bring us collectively. And that's what I've been doing ever since I touched foot on this campus and into HBCU football.
All right, thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you, my man.
Next question goes to James Hill.
Hey, Coach, I hope you and everybody at Jackson State University are well. Shedeur Sanders in 24 games, 6,314 passing yards, and 62 touchdowns. Talk a little bit about Shedeur, his development, and again, he's carving them up like turkeys, and he's getting better every day.
Well, we've been slacking the second half of the season because a few people have caught up with us, and we got to be a little more innovative, and Brett is doing a good job of that right now in the lab. But Shedeur is progressing. Each week, each game, he's progressing. He called the team up at the end of practice today and got in their butts a little bit about the focus and the understanding of the challenge and what we have at hand. And they're trying to make history, and they're trying to be dominant and making it. He's a football guy. I mean, he's a coach's son. He's a football guy who loves it, lives it, eats it. He likes to stunt. Now, he likes the finer things of life, but he he has to earn those things. But I love what he's putting on display, and the best is yet to come. I truly believe the best is yet to come. We do brunch every Sunday morning, he and my oldest son and my daughter. And one of the things I challenged him to, I talked about all his interceptions. And what he had, 6 of them? Six. Yeah. And each one of them, the defensive back didn't make a great play. All of them was gifts that he put a bow on and just handed it to the opposing team. And I said, think about that. Think about those plays, and I want you to really eliminate those things because those are decision-making flaws. And to think that you're as successful as you are, but 6 decision-making flaws you can eliminate, think about how much better you could possibly be. And those are the conversations we have, because you can't just come at him any kind of way. You got to have an intellectual part to come at him because, he knows this game. And when I'm about to get on him, he say, wait till you watch the tape. And then I watch the tape and I see what he saw. Sometimes we could be critical until we start seeing what the quarterback sees. But I'm proud of him.
Coach, the Eddie Robinson Trophy is on display every summer at Media Day in Birmingham. It's also earned by the winning coach. And you won it last year, and you have an extensive trophy case, and we all know that. Talk a little bit about working hard and earning another one this weekend at Jackson State and what that could look like to add another victory as you continue to work hard and guide your team.
Well, the Bible talks about seeking ye first, and then all these things shall be added. We're trying to be dominant. We've been saying that since day one. And when you're dominant, all those things are added. All the accolades for the team, all the accolades for the coaches, all the accolades for the support staff and so forth. All those things are added. So we don't think about those things. We don't set out and say, well, we want to have the best freshman. We want to have the best this. We don't think like that. We've been saying since day one, we want to be dominant. And then all those things are therefore added.
Have a blessed week, sir.
Thank you, my man.
Try to get a few more questions in quickly. The question goes to Jeff Lightsey.
Hey, Coach Prime, I understand, just going back on the question that you were asked earlier, you said you've been Prime for a long time, but your team and your program haven't always been Prime or Deion Sanders. I just want to know, how do you prevent all the rumors that are circulating around your name prevent it from hurting your team going into this week or your program and recruiting and things like that?
Our team has been good since we've been here. We've been good. So I disagree with you with that. We've been good since we've been here. We focus, man. Like we're dialed in. We have some really good coaches and guys that have been to the highest level of football. And we know how to focus our kids. We know how to make sure our kids are watching enough film. We know how to make sure our kids understand their alignment and assignments to another level. We know how to run a practice. At this point in practice, it don't involve a lot of contact. We want to keep them fresh and fast. We know the finer things to do because we've done them as a player, and we've been to those mountaintops and Super Bowl runs and understanding how do you focus with everybody screaming about a Super Bowl, everybody screaming about a darn World Series. I think they got the right coach, don't you? You see how I paused there and let you kind of grasp that thing? I think they got the right coach.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
Last question goes to Dr. Cavill.
That my man.
Thank you. Good morning, Coach Brown. How's it going?
Good morning, sir.
You've been very consistent of talking about your team being consistent. Oftentimes we hear individuals talk about the team taking over the mindset of their coach. Going into the championship, you've been in the highest level of championships with the Super Bowl and World Series for that factor. Are there things that you're able to talk to your team or even your coaches? Many of them have been at that high level too, that translates to the college and a second chance of a conference championship.
Yeah, a lot of things we put on the internet because we're trying to help the majority of people, not in sports, but just in life as well as in sports. Some things we don't, that happens in the meetings. We just had CEO of Under Armour, Kevin Plank, here to speak to our whole team about keeping the main thing. And then he blessed the whole team, the whole staff with new Under Armour shoes that hadn't even really come out yet. So it's easy for us to bring in people to validate and substantiate the message that we're trying to get across with these youngsters. But the main thing is to keep the main thing. If we play our game, only we can beat us. That's not having any insult to Southern or their staff, because they have a tremendous staff, tremendous coach. I love those young men and the way they perform. But if we do our thing, it's going to be hard to deal with us. And everyone knows that. If we play our game, it's hard to beat us.
Yes, no doubt. We watched it in terms of the record. And so I continue to analyze and see what that is about. Let's get a little more in terms of the game.
Okay.
People that followed you talk about your athletic ability, but more important, I'm not sure it's been pointed out how much you really dissect game film.
Yes.
And I'm sure that is translated from a coaching perspective.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit more in terms particular, how have you worked with coaches to work players in regards to how to break down film correctly, to look at certain that can be a difference of making a play, winning games, and actually obviously winning championships because you do the little thing that you see in a game?
I oftentimes will step inside a film room or a meeting with the coaches and see how they're developing the players and see how they're coaching and what they're getting across. The coaches have received direct structure from me about this week, about making sure they consume a lot of film. On Thursdays, everyone has to turn in time. I'm going to say that again. This may be different from any other coach. On Thursdays, my staff has to turn in film times from each player. So if it's defensive backs, I need to see how much film every defensive back watch, because I want to make sure he's ready, he's prepared. Now, if I have a starter that plays on the defensive line and he's only watched 30 minutes of film, he might sit over on that bench for 30 minutes until that 30 minutes he lasts. Then he'll get in the game because he's not prepared. So we want to make sure they're prepared for the game intellectually, physically, socially, and just understanding the moment of the game. But when they break the huddle and they get in the formation, our guys are calling it out. internally. They know. And when that defensive back is at this, and Shador could go over there, he could look this way, and he know when they're going to blitz. So it's just his thing to get us in the right formation, to get us in the right call, to make sure we have the right protection. So one thing that we're going to be is we're going to be prepared. We're not going to be not prepared for this game. This coaches wise as well as players.
Thank you, Coach Fromm. Good luck
you
this week. I look forward to the matchup.
I appreciate it.
Coach Sanders, we sincerely appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. And Dr. Kabir, I just wanted you to know you won the contest of the cleanest of the year. Yes, you've been the cleanest of the year consistently all year. Mr. Hill tried to come at you a couple weeks, but you got him. You know, he may have won a couple weeks, but you got him. I just want you to know that. And we need to give
I appreciate it. I'll make sure I let him know that too.
For the consistency of what you bring to the table, my brother. Hey, I appreciate y'all, man.
Mr. Hill, you heard that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Hill. I'm just letting you know. I'm just calling it like it is.
I got it.
I don't know. Both of you have on shorts or drawers or whatever you got on under the table, but the upper body, y'all are clean. All right. God bless you.
Appreciate it. All right. Next up, we have a very special guest to close out our SWAC Football Championship media session. Happy to be joined by SWAC Commissioner Dr. Charles McClellan. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning. How's everyone today?
Doing great, Commissioner. We do appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. If you could please start us out with an opening statement, just previewing the championship game and recapping what has been a very successful regular season.
Well, first, let me say thank you to all of the media outlets. You've been consistent all season, and we could not be what we are without your help. So thank you very much. It has been a very good season for us, unprecedented season. We haven't gotten all of the numbers yet, but we know that we are set another record as far as attendance this year. With the addition of HBCU Go, we've set a record of the number of games that have been televised nationally, live. Our footprint has expanded, our fan base has expanded, and it's been a very good year. From a competitive standpoint, obviously Jackson State completed their first undefeated season, but back to, old SWAC ways, you dial back to last Saturday. 3 teams were in the championship last Saturday, all the way up until they were not. And then Southern University had the opportunity this weekend with their win over Grambling. So that's the level of competitiveness that we wanted. It brings that level of excitement. It brings the fan excitement, and we're just very, very pleased to be in the position that we're in to come into this Saturday, 3 p.m. in Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson State versus Southern University, ESPN2, with a very lot of eyeballs watching the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Those opening comments, Commissioner McClellan. First question goes to James Hill.
Hey, I hope you and everybody at the SWAC office are well and happy holidays. Can you talk a little bit about TV opportunities in terms of a possible SWAC network and what that might look like, and as you move forward, the television aspect of the SWAC?
Yeah, Mr. Hill, I would say we already have a SWAC network. It's called HBCU Go in conjunction with ESPN. When you look at our football games, out of the 60 plus games, only 8 of them were not televised. So what we looked at overall a couple of years ago was that we wanted our games to be on national television. Obviously, the digital side has been able to expand, but having your own network has to equate to revenue. And ESPN and HBCU Go has given us the greatest opportunity to enhance our overall revenue structure. That's what our corporate partners were looking for, and that's what ultimately we were able to deliver. So it is not our intent to create a SWAC network. Part of our deal with HBCU Go is that they're going to expand their platform, where all of our SWAC games, whether it's football, softball, baseball, soccer, track, tennis, will be streamed on HBCU Go, and some of those will be picked up on a national basis as football was. So part of the revenue that we're receiving, we're going to invest in infrastructure on our 12 campuses. to where we'll have artificial intelligent cameras that will be able to deliver high definition content. And we're going to create these stations through HBCU Go, where you can log on 24 hours, 7 days a week and watch SWAC sports. So it's a long range plan. This is phase one, and we're going to ultimately get there.
In terms of expansion, we know the SWAC is in a good place, but there's other HBCs, if you will, with quality brands who are clamoring. Would there be expansion at some point? Is that a possibility?
Well, I think any and everything is always a possibility. It is not our intent to expand. We're not out there seeking expansion. We did not seek to expand with FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, but when those opportunities became available, we clearly jumped on those opportunities. I can tell you we're not going to expand for the sake of expanding. If you go back and look at what I've said ever since I've been in this chair, it has been that statement. We're not going to expand just for the sake of expanding. And if we do expand, it's going to be more about what those institutions can bring to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. How are they going to allow us to grow? How will they allow us to be able to generate the additional revenue? Some of the things that you would probably look at from an expansion standpoint, are those key elements. They're going to have to match our institutions, from an academic standpoint, from a competitive standpoint, from a geographical standpoint. And also we're going to be looking, for if an institution is able to come in, how many fan support, media market. So what those other power conferences are looking for, this power conference will be looking for the same. So if somebody fits that bill and it's going to be beneficial to the SWAC, we will definitely take a look at it, but we're not out there seeking expansion at this point.
Thank you, sir. Have a blessed week.
Thank you.
Next question goes to Kendrick Marshall.
Yeah, Commissioner. FAMU was recently left out of the FCS playoffs. They thought they had a team that could make it this year. And part of the reasoning for that was their non-conference scheduling. Is there a way the SWAC can help supplement a team schedule to put them in a better position to possibly make the playoffs if they don't win the conference?
When you say supplement, please expound on that question.
Yeah, there's obviously a mandate number of games that has to be played by teams in conference. Is there a way the SWAC can possibly, I guess, make it a way where schools can have more opportunities to play non-conference games instead of having to only rely on those mandated conference games throughout the season?
Well, the 8-game conference schedule was voted upon by the athletic director. So the institutions will determine whether we play 8 games, 7 games, 6 games, no games. That's not a conference office decision. That's an institutional decision. But we have a strong, legitimate Division I conference, and our games are strong enough in order for you to get into the FCS playoffs, as evident last year from Florida A&M. There are a lot of politics, as we know. There are a lot of deserving teams, as you know, when it comes to the FCS playoffs. We've always encouraged our teams, not just in the sport of football, but in the sport of basketball, to play a legitimate Division I conference schedule. You're starting, and I don't want to deviate from FAMU, but you're starting to see it in basketball. We did not mandate the schedule. The Pac-12 agreement of bringing in those schools are going to do nothing but help our net rankings. Going out on the road and playing mid-major schools that we can get some victories, and you've seen that in basketball versus playing the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 team in the nation where you know you're not going to win. And we've talked about the same thing in football. We understand if you want to go get a game guarantee that you're probably going to try to come back and get a game guarantee on your own. Going back to the television conversation, the more revenue that we bring in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, the more revenue we distribute to our member institutions, and it'll alleviate that need to go and have to get those game guarantees, which will give them the opportunity to play some of those teams that are at the FCS level that you know that you can compete with, win those games, and get the requisite amount of points in order to get into the FCS playoffs. So in my opinion, it's not the reduction of the SWAC games. It's equalizing that non-conference schedule, those 3 games that you have, playing the right schools. to be able to get in. If Jackson State somehow, Kendrick, did not make it to the championship game, they would have been a lock into the SWAC championship, the FCS playoffs. And that was because of the way that they scheduled. So it can be done. We've proven last year that it can be done, but institutions have to schedule based upon their needs, and the conference office will not interfere with that.
As a quick follow-up to that, how much does it hurt, or if at all, that the SWAC does have a representative in the room when the selections are made for the playoff?
I sit in the room at the highest level, the Division I Men's Basketball Committee, and each and every time there's conversations about the Southwestern Athletic Conference, I'm asked to lead. And I think the procedure is the same for the FCS selection. So being in the room doesn't necessarily give you a leg up. It's, the resume and the things that you do outside of it. So not being in the room, in my opinion, doesn't put us at a disadvantage at all.
Thank you.
Next question, Next question goes to Dr. Cavill.
Good morning, Dr. McCullough.
Morning.
Good afternoon now.
Depends on where you are, Doc.
Great point. Good point. Morning somewhere. I appreciate you saving me on that. With that being said, you said attendance is up. Broadcast association in terms of visibility is up. Revenues are up.
You said revenue.
Talk a little bit about. Well, I thought you said in that last answer you spoke about revenue being
revenue is up.
So
I'm gonna let you answer you. I'm sorry, Doctor. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
You kind of let that slip out. I just listen to it. But I get you. We can't spoil everybody with the numbers. Maybe I can figure that out some other way. But with that being said, can you talk about, is it too early to say what's next? What is the next thing that the SWAC under your leadership needs to get done?
Well, let's go back to the revenue question. Revenue is up. Revenue is up significantly. I've said this before, and I say it now. We are not the small Black college poor conference anymore. We are a legitimate force. Our revenue numbers are tracking extremely strong. I have not seen the other FCS conferences revenue this year, but based upon last year's numbers, we will rank first of all of FCS. Given where we are with our television contracts in 5 years, we will actually surpass 2 FBS conferences. Again, they might have the ability to up their numbers. We are going to enter, we have 3 more years left on our ESPN contract where we're start to enter negotiations with ESPN. So we think that we are in a very positive position to elevate this conference, to be able to do some things that people have never been able to see. We distributed over $9 million last year. We got the final numbers in. That does not include allowing Jackson State to keep all of the revenue from the championship game. When you look at distribution to our membership, we have distributed more than all FCS conferences. So James asked that question before, and I've had to say this publicly. People talk about people coming in, but what about schools leaving? We can honestly say, if there is a institution that want to leave the SWAC, they would have to go Power 5, because there's no other conference that they can get as much revenue distribution from the SWAC. That's how strong we are, and our revenue projections are trending, upward. So when you start talking about what's next, it is to continue to deliver to our fans a quality product. It is to continue to deliver the revenue that our member institutions need, so they can do things such as not having to play all of these types of game guarantees, being able to travel in a first-class manner. That's what conference offices are for. And I am proud to say that in 4 years, we've been able to elevate our revenue structure to where we're now distributing legitimate, serious money back to our schools to where they can do some of those things.
Follow-up question in that regard is, obviously we've seen what took place, the basketball with the SWAC in the Pac-12 series. Women's side basketball continues to tick up. And so I know this is about football, But that has been positive, both men's and women's, and baseball seems to be ascending as well. But more of a football question that I have, and I know the membership does a lot in terms of making the actual decisions, and the office is about it out. Celebration Bowl is the top in regards to where all the teams are seeking to go to win the conference. Is there any information or talk out there about a secondary type bowl for those teams that may either get in the playoffs? Is that something that has been out there?
Yeah, there's talk. Again, as you know, there's only 2 FCS conferences that are eligible to play in a bowl game. That's the SWAC and the MEAC. And it took special legislation to do so. Right now, the Transformation Committee for the NCAA is going through their process. The NCAA is going to look a lot different once this process is done. So now is the time that if we want to get anything done, to propose getting those things done. But I can tell you, I've had other conferences to reach out wanting to participate. You know, there's been this debate about FCS Playoff Celebration Bowl. I can tell you there are many conferences that are saying behind the scenes that they would much rather play in some type of bowl game against the Southwestern Athletic Conference, that the revenue is there and the opportunity to win a national championship is very enticing for those types of institutions. And at the end of the day, it's coming down to revenue. So when you talk about Florida A&M, you talked about, you know, what that entails, you know, in order to host a FCS championship, the minimum bid is $30,000. That's not going to get you a game. You're going to be with somewhere between the $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 range. And then a percentage of that revenue has to go back to the NCAA. And then if you have to leave, you have to pay all of your expenses to go. So let's just say family hosted. You know, they were going to be out of $50,000 to $80,000 to host, whatever it costs for them to go play that following week. So let's say they made it to the national championship game. It could have cost them upwards of $250,000, $300,000. Again, it's important to be able to play for a national championship. I'm not taking that away, but we have made the decision that the Celebration Bowl is the route that we want to go. We want to be like the SEC and the Big Ten and the Pac-12. We want to be able to compete in a bowl game and compete at the highest level. So getting multiple bowl games is definitely our priority. And I don't know, I can't say it's not imminent. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's going to take some time. But in this new structure of the NCAA, I can tell you 100% we are in the middle of it. We have a voice, and we will continue to exert our voice to be able to move our agenda forward and try to get some of the things that we would like to have.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Question goes to Jeff Lightsey Jr.
Commissioner McClellan, I must ask you, you talked about your 4 years as the commissioner of the SWAC. Would you say this has been the most successful season for you as a commissioner, just football season? I know you have a rest of the athletic calendar, but what has that success been like for you this season, and how has it felt?
Well, I think our success has built. You know, we had a very successful first year, second year, third year. This is the beginning of the fifth year. You know, last year we said it was the most successful that we've seen, and this year numbers have kind of blown out of the water. But our success really is predicated on the fact that we have 12 institutions that are on the same page. The athletic directors, the presidents, the chancellors, SWAs, coaches. And, you know, we get in the back room, we fuss and fight, but when we come out, we're on one accord. And that has been the precipice of our success. That has been the spear that has allowed us to achieve those types of things. And when you start seeing like your basketball teams on their own, scheduling, you know, mid-majors and, you know, doing the types of things that's going to push the entire needle forward. I think if I had to point to one success that I am most proud of from a competitive standpoint, it would be that. SWAC has always been competitive on the field and on the court. We've always had large fan base and fan participation. But to get all 12 schools on the same page with one accord, and I think we can all see the light or the prize at the end, you know, of this journey. There's a lot of work that needs to continue to be done. We're going to work hard to get that done, but we are in a very good spot. It does feel good for not only the nation, but the world to know who the Southwestern Athletic Conference is, and for people to look upon the Southwestern Athletic Conference with pride, with dignity versus disdain.
Yes, sir. And just a quick follow-up is talking about growing and expanding. I remember there was reports about a SWAC Classic football game. Can you fill us in on any other details or anything moving forward going into the 2023 season?
Yeah, the SWAC Classic this year was the Southern FAMU game. We will have one next year, but I think ultimately what you're referencing is the SWAC Classic that we talked about in Birmingham, Alabama. And when that came out, what that report was that the city council approved funding for us to have that game. We have yet to sign that contract. And the schools that were listed were projected schools. They were probable schools. So there have not been contracts that have been signed. What that was us going to the city saying the SWAC has the ability to be able to bring some of its teams. Those teams coming to Birmingham is strictly voluntary. And that's something else that I would like to say. The SWAC can't force a team to do anything from a non-conference standpoint. Even from a conference standpoint, our responsibility is to schedule the games. The schools can rearrange those games. They can move those games. They can't cancel conference games. So the SWAC Classic is just us saying, we have sponsors that want to attach dollars. Why not give those resources directly to the schools? Why don't we create an opportunity for schools to be able to make all of the revenue and not having to share it? But it is 100% the school's choice to participate. And as soon as we have those schools solidified, we will, make that path forward. I have to say again, hats off to Mayor Miranda Woodfin here in Birmingham of being able to get that through the city council, getting a stadium to where we can keep 100% of the revenue and distribute it back to the school. So we will have a SWAC Classic. The year before that, it was on the campus of Jackson. Last year it was on the campus of FAMU, and we will keep that going because we think that it is extremely beneficial to our schools from a revenue standpoint.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
We'll try to get two more questions in quickly first.
Andrew, if they're good, I'm good. I don't get a chance to talk. And I saw
Absolutely.
Bradley, how disappointed he was when you didn't choose him for Coach Prime. So we're going to get to you.
Okay, I appreciate your patience.
So I'm good.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Next question goes to Bradley Davis.
See, Bradley, I called your name.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Commissioner.
No problem.
Looking out for me. First, just how are you doing today, Commissioner?
Doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Enjoying the sunlight before it goes away here in about 12 or 18 hours. But my question is, you talked about all the success with the numbers and everything. What's been something you didn't really expect that's been kind of a pleasant surprise that you didn't expect or really see coming this year that's been pretty cool?
That's a good question, Bradley. In this business, you always have to expect the unexpected. So I'm not quite sure if there was anything out there that was unexpected, but I can tell you a pleasant surprise has just been the shattering of attendance numbers. And it's not just been Jackson State, and it hasn't just been the games that Jackson State has played in. When you look across the board at our institutions, they're selling out or near sellouts. And that's something that we really wanted to bring. We talk about what we do from a conference office from a revenue standpoint, but there's a whole different ledger of revenue that can be generated by the additional support on those campuses. When you look at sold out games, 2 or 3 of those that you normally might not would have had because of the overall intensity and the spotlight and the national exposure being on TV, that has been an extreme pleasant surprise. And I can tell you the way that the HBCU Go syndication has worked, again, has been a pleasant surprise. We're in 80 markets from Hawaii all the way to Maine, 80% of the African-American households. So if you want to see SWAC football, you can cut on your televisions and watch SWAC football regardless of where you are. And that is a level of exposure that we have never had and we're going to continue to build upon and grow. And I think it was important for us to have it because it legitimizes us as a quality top conference. And from a corporate partner standpoint, they want that visibility as well. So those two things, in my opinion, has been one of the brightest surprises that I've been able to celebrate over the last 4 months.
Yeah, that's sweet. And just super quick follow-up. What's been the kind of the best SWAC game that you've gotten to catch this year? One that really stuck out, just watching on TV or in person?
I don't know if I can say a SWAC game. I can say as I was at the volleyball championship last weekend, because I didn't go to any games last weekend because I've been on the road each and every week. But to sit into the stands and watch the Prairie View Valley game unfold. And then when Valley intercepted the ball, I think it was late in the fourth quarter, we kind of turned to the Texas Southern football game against Alabama A&M, and they were up 21-6, I believe, and they were up 3 scores. So I called the staff up. It was like, if Texas Southern win, we have done all of the tie-breaking scenarios. Texas Southern is going to be in the driver's seat. So we're in the stands trying to order a stencil, right? Because we only had, 10 days to get a stencil in. So we already had the Southern stencil ordered. We already had Prairie View stencil from last year, but we didn't have a Texas Southern stencil. So it took us about 15, 20 minutes to get the stencil ordered. And then here comes Alabama A&M. So we're all sitting in the stands like, okay, what's going to happen on this 4th and 1? And Alabama A&M runs it in. So now Texas Southern is out. Now we turn to the Alcorn State Jackson State game, and Alcorn is in striking distance on Jackson State, because if Alcorn wins, now Alcorn enters the conversation. And then Jackson State finally pulls out from Alcorn, and we catch our breath and said, in a matter of 30 minutes, we went from Prairie View winning the West to Texas Southern winning the West to Alcorn possibly winning the West to Southern now having to beat Grambling winning the West. And I think that is a microcosm of how this entire season has gone. It has been that exciting week in and week out.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner.
No problem.
Next question goes to Maurice Scott.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Thanks for taking my question. Couple of questions I had real quick. By the way, I'm here at school and I work in the media, so I'm doing some double stuff here. We used to have a classic here called the Gateway Classic. Earl Wilson, the late Earl Wilson, used to put it together and feature Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and among other teams annually. With St. Louis being in a prime location in the Midwest, is there any thoughts of bringing that classic back here and bringing some SWAC teams here with the rich football tradition that we have here in the St. Louis area? Right now, I'm sitting in the high school, home Jackie Joyner Kersey, Kellen Winslow, Brian Cox, among others, and one of the all-time winningest football programs in the country, in the East St. Louis Flyers. Can you comment on maybe bringing a SWAC game back to the Midwest with our hospitality and also with the hotels and it being a central figure in the United States?
Yes, we're open to bringing our brand of football wherever they want us. So we are very excited about the brand that we bring. We're very excited about the energetic fan base that we have, and we want to expand. We want to be able to show what SWAC is all about. So short answer to your question is yes, but I will follow up with this. And I kind of did a head shake. I said this 3 or 4 years ago. We now know our worth. And if you want us, then we know what our worth is. And as long as you're willing to pay us what we're worth, we're willing to come.
I think you're on mute there, Maurice. You're on. Maurice, you're on mute, sir.
I stunned him, didn't I, Maurice?
No, I apologize. Thank you, moderator. Now, Commissioner, I was saying I agree with you wholeheartedly. I will make sure that I get that information out because it is vital for the communities to work with the SWAC and the participating teams and people like yourself to bring that brand to the Midwest. And oftentimes people don't value the value of the SWAC. So I hear you loud and clear. There have been some problems here in St. Louis, but the leadership is changing. And me being in the position I am, I hear you loud and clear, and I'll get that to the appropriate people.
Sure, Maurice, and I wasn't necessarily speaking in terms of, the individuals there. I was speaking more so overall, that the value of our brand has increased significantly. And we are open for business. We just want businesses to understand our value and that we will not do business for less than what our value dictates it to be.
Thank you for your time.
No problem.
Next question goes to Mia Berry.
Hi, Commissioner McClellan. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. My question for you is, over the last few years, you've seen conferences kind of change their football alignment. So a lot of them are moving away from the division model and just taking the top 2 teams overall. I wanted to know, has the SWAC considered this model, in meetings? And also from, what's your opinion on what's better, the division model or just taking the top 2 teams overall?
Well, there has been some conversations because we have an 8-game schedule and 12 teams. It will be impossible for all teams to play each other. So if you're talking about top 2 teams, there again would be some level of tie-breaking scenario. So it won't necessarily just be record. We kind of went through this during the COVID period, if you recall, with our basketball, that we had a tie-breaking formula that took into consideration strength of record. So our divisions kind of make that process, 1, more exciting, in my opinion, and 2, it makes it more fair. Oftentimes you can debate, what teams are better than others. But in the divisional structure, everybody on that side plays everyone, and obviously they'll cross over for 3 games, and you get more of a fair representation. I know that the Big Ten, face the same issue. The SEC faces the same issue with the number of teams that they're looking to move, and we will continue to look. As commissioner, I will reiterate, our job is to carry forward what our membership wants. If our membership wants a division, we will put that together. If they want non-divisions and the top 2 teams, we will put that together as well. What I think about it really doesn't matter. I think that's a question that's probably more focused towards the athletic directors, because what they want will carry the day in that conversation.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's all I had. Have a blessed rest of today.
No problem. Thank you.
Last question goes to Stephen Gaither. Last question goes to Stephen Gaither.
Hey guys, Stephen Gaither, HBCU Game Day. How you doing, Commissioner?
Doing fine, Stephen. How are you?
Doing well. Yeah, obviously, it's football time, football championship time, so everything's kind of football focused. But I think we definitely need to take a step back and look at SWAC basketball. Obviously, there was a time, not too long ago where a lot of the teams were struggling to pick up any type of out-of-conference wins against Division I basketball opponents. And obviously, you guys have been able to get some major wins this year. Just talk about the progress of SWAC basketball over the last, the last couple of years under your tenure and where you see it going from here.
Well, I think it's a concerted effort, and we had to have buy-in from the coaches. If you go back and you pull the schedules of all 12 of our member institutions, it is not as top-heavy as it has been in the past. And I think a lot of it comes from the understanding of what it takes in order for us to be able to move the conference forward. We've always had a very good brand of basketball, but it's difficult, Stephen, to even beat a medium position team when you're on the road 7, 8, 9, 10 games in a row. And ultimately what we talk to our coaches is you can still get your game guarantees, but you don't have to do it at that highest level. We don't have to play the top 25 to get game guarantees. Maybe you don't get as much if you play a team somewhere in that 120, 125 range, but you can still generate the revenue. That is the reason why I say hats off to the Pac-12. They knew that there was a possibility for them to take some losses. but it was extremely important for them to do something that was monumental, and they did. And the Pac-12 did it out of the kindness and saying, we want to spotlight HBCUs, even if we take hits from it. And I think what we've shown, even in this short time frame, that given our ability to be able to play those games early on, when we're at our best, we're fresh, not on the road for, 12 days in a row, that we can compete, that the SWAC has moved forward in a lot of instances. Could we have done this 4 years ago? I don't think so, but our brand is a lot better. I think the second thing, Stephen, is the transfer portal. A lot of people look down on the transfer portal, but the transfer portal allows us to be able to go in and get players that are ready to play. Some that might have gone up and looked to move to a mid-major, or some that might have been in Division II that got overlooked, that is ready for our level as well. And I think our coaches have done a very good job of going into the portal. Now, that does hurt high school, and we have to figure that piece out. But I think the transfer portal definitely has some good to it. And the third is name, image, and likeness. You can come to Jackson State. You can come to Southern University, play the sport of football, and get name, image, and likeness deals, compete in a championship on national television, and then go to the Celebration Bowl and compete in the bowl game. Those are the same things that the Power Five are selling to their recruits. We can sell the same thing. And as long as we can continue to sell that, and they will be able to generate income at the same level. You talk about, Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, could have gone to Florida State and got a name, image, and likeness deal, but I can tell you he's a really big fish at Jackson State University. And he is getting, in my opinion, more recognition, more spotlight being at Jackson than he would at any FBS or Power Five institution. You can come here, you can play, Stephen, you can play immediately, and you can achieve all of those things versus going to a Power Five and having to sit and wait your turn. So I think those three things have allowed us to propel basketball forward. And, we're going to be working at all 18 of our sports to get them to that same point. But I am very pleased about our basketball upward trajectory. I think, again, more work to be done, but I think people can now start to see that there has at least been some work going on, and we're starting to see dividends from that work.
And lastly, I know you are the head of the Division I basketball tournament committee. So I don't know how much you could talk about this, but, the non-conference wins you guys have gotten. You look at a team like Texas Southern who, historically plays those games on the road, never sees home court until January. They were able to play Arizona State at home and get a win. They've had some other close calls. Depending on who your champion is, how are you feeling with these wins may help you guys' chances of not having to play in that first 4 game, even though there are some benefits to it financially?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I do want to give credit where credit is due. I'm vice chair. Chris Reynolds, which is the athletic director at Bradley, is chair of the basketball committee this year. So I'm shadowing Chris and trying to learn all that I can, Stephen, in order for me not to embarrass myself this time next year when it is my turn. But when you start talking about where you are at the end of the season, you really have to rewind to the beginning of the season. And when I became a member of the basketball committee, I was not well versed in net. It was the first year, and I spent a lot of time talking to the individuals that put together the net. And it's a statistical base format, whatever you call it, and they've put this information out. But we can break it down quite simply to, who you play, where you played them, and how you perform, right? So the who you play doesn't really matter when you start off at 0. It matters after game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. Where you play them matters some early on. It matters more at the end, because when you start talking about quad 1, if you're at home, quad 1 is 1 through 30. If you're on the road, it goes up, some more. So quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4 wins. I say all of that to say everybody starts off at 0, Stephen. And ultimately, what increases your net is efficiency, offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. So offensive efficiency means that, how many points did you score and how many times did you shoot to get, those points? So if I was 31 for 41, obviously that's shooting at 80% clip. I know Dr. Cavell is the statistics major. Correct my math on that if I'm wrong. Nobody shoots 80%, Stephen, in a game. But if I shot 80% and I held my opponent to shooting 20%, then regardless if my name is Texas Southern or Duke, I'm going to be at the top of the net when the net comes out, right? Because of those efficiencies, and I won that game. So what has hurt the SWAC is we've been on the road. We get beat by 20 and 30 points. We have poor offensive and defensive efficiency because we're on the road, we playing these teams. And then when it's time for us to start to get, to the meat of our schedule, we're so down in the net because we have such bad efficiencies, it's hard to elevate ourselves. The importance of what's going on this year is that we're having some home games. We're winning some of those games on the road. The net is not going to come out. I think it comes out either this week or next week. You're going to see that we're going to have more teams outside of that 300 range. When net generally comes out, we're in, 298, 300, 310, 311, 312, because we're on the road. We've got to beat our efficiencies. Keep in mind, everybody starts at 0. I expect our net to be higher as a whole because of the wins that we've received and even the more competitive games that we played on the road, even some of those losses. Because if you have a higher net and you play a higher net on the road and you lose by very few points, you maintain that consistency. You don't drop. In some instances, you can elevate yourself if there's some teams above you falls below you. And I know I'm getting very technical here. The long story of this is we should fare a lot better in the net rankings. And the better you fare early on, the better your chances are at the end to get out of those 16 seeds. Now, this is just Charles McClellan's opinion. Again, like I told you earlier, I cannot vote for any SWAC team whatsoever. So where SWAC falls, I have nothing to say about it. But personally, playing in the first 4, being on national television, winning that game, getting an extra unit is way more beneficial for the individual team and the conference than to get a 16 seed and go straight and play the number 1 seed and have less than, well, I don't think there's ever been a 16 seed that have be the 1 seed. To have a 0% chance of winning that game, right? It will be only beneficial for us if we can get a 14th seed or a 13th seed. Even a 15th seed, you're ultimately playing those teams that should have been a number 1 seed but fail at some point, right? And I think there might have been 2 or 3 2 seeds to beat a 15th seed. A 15th seed to beat a 2 seed. So again, that 15th seed, 16th seed, that's a hard out seed. What we have to work towards is getting a 14th seed, a 13th seed, and a 12th seed. And that goes back to our schedule at the beginning of the season. So I know that was a long answer, but you asked.
I definitely did appreciate it, Dr. McClellan.
No problem.
Commissioner, we sincerely appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you at the SWAC Championship game this weekend.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. This concludes our SWAC Championship media session for Monday, November 28th. We will get the Zoom recording processed here and out momentarily. We sincerely appreciate all of our media participants on the calls this entire season, and we look forward to seeing you each at the SWAC Championship game and a SWAC Football Media Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Appreciate it. Thank you.